Assalamu alaikum everybody. I'm just about to record the 17th episode of the Arabic with Sam podcast, and I'd love to hear what you guys think of the podcast. A lot of you guys are listening and watching, but you're not subscribing yet. Make sure you subscribe and make sure that you leave me a comment as well, just to let me know how you think the podcast is going and how I can improve it in the future, inshallah. Especially for the YouTube guys, I want to show my gratitude towards you guys. I want to say thank you very much for helping me get this far. The podcast has quite a lot of viewers every week, alhamdulillah, and listeners every week. Especially you guys on Spotify. I mention you guys a lot, but you guys are holding it down over there. You guys are the biggest audience by far, and so that's it really. I want to say thank you very much, guys, on YouTube. Those of you guys who are not subscribed to me on YouTube, I'm speaking to you guys on the podcast specifically, and then if you guys who are watching this on Facebook or Instagram, make sure you go over to my YouTube channel and subscribe for me, please. That would make me very happy. It would make my mum more proud of me, and that would make me very happy because we're nearly at 5,000 subscribers now. We're at 4,850 something. So it would just take a few people just to nudge me over the edge, inshallah, into 5,000 subscribers, which would make my day. Anyways, let's get on with the podcast. Assalamu alaikum. This is the Arabic teacher Sam, and a very warm welcome to episode 17 of the Arabic with Sam podcast. I pray that you guys are very, very well and in the best of health. We've got a nice episode today. I actually received a lengthy email from someone from Poland, recently saying, Sam, you talk about Arabic a bit too much. We'd like to hear you talk and actually give us words and phrases in Arabic a little bit more. So I'm going to move towards that a little bit more. We'll still be doing our grammar, we'll still be talking about sort of mindset and approach to learning Arabic, because that stuff is sort of the foundations of you studying Arabic for long enough for you to reach the goals that you have. But today's episode is one in which we're sort of moving towards a lot of kind of modern vocabulary, a lot of stuff that you guys will be able to use in your day-to-day. Most people in the Arab world are very keen to talk about politics, to some degree at least, and other countries, some countries more than others. And when I was in Palestine, it seems like although people have strong opinions about politics there, people are tired. Like in Palestine, their situation has been the same situation really, and it's just got worse for the past, really it's been in decline for like 100 years, but so people are tired in some places, but for us, it's important for us to be able to talk about Arabic politics in Arabic. For us students, it's interesting for us to be able to actually hear the perspectives of people on the ground when we go to Arab countries. So we're going to run through some phrases about sort of socio-political stuff in this week's episode, inshallah. So the sort of, when we talk about like topical issues, like the sort of title for this, for this podcast would be Al-Qadaya Al-Mu'asira. Al-Qadaya Al-Mu'asira. It's topical issues. Qadaya is, I assume the plural of the word qadiyya. Qadiyyatun has a ta' marbuta on the end, and it means like a case or an issue. You often talk about sort of the Palestinian situation, al-Qadiyyatul Falastiniyya. You often hear that kind of referred to. That's kind of a phrase that's coined for like the Palestinian struggle, the Palestinian situation. So topical issues is al-Qadaya al-Mu'asira, and that's kind of what we're getting into, inshallah. So I think we'll run through some nouns first. Perhaps we'll run through some nouns, and then we move on to some verbs, inshallah. In this lesson, there's about 25 words that you'll probably learn, and maybe a few more, and we'll kind of build a bit of context around talking about politics and social issues in the Arab world versus in the West, and then kind of a little bit of Islamic perspective in there as well, because in a lot of issues, the Arab world actually reflects a Western mindset more than an Islamic one in many cases. Like when we talk about many current issues like feminism, gay rights, democracy and stuff, like a lot of the perspective is mindset that's been like almost indoctrinated into the Arabs, rather than actually being the Islamic one. So a lot of these terms do exist in Arabic, and it's quite interesting to see the equivalence of them. So let's get into them, inshallah. So the first one I wanted to share you is the word tamyiz. Tamyiz, when I first heard it, I mean, tamyiz is a grammatical term as well. There's a lesson in my 60 Steps program called tamyiz. There's a grammatical rule, tamyiz, but really it means discrimination. When you use the term tamyiz, it means discrimination. There's, if you say like تمييز المثليين. The term مثليين is for homosexuals, is for gays, right? So, it's an interesting term actually. Like مثل means that it's like. مثل, the term مثل means it's like something. المثليين or المثليون are the people who have a sexual preference for the gender that's like theirs, right? المثليون, that's, so تمييز though is the term for discrimination. The next one is the word temkeen. Temkeen means empowerment. تمكين النساء, women empowerment. temkeen, coming from the verb مكن, temkeen, is empowerment. Next word that we have is irhab. Irhab is terrorism, and irhabi would be a terrorist. It's not necessarily that there is a different word for like a suicide bomber. The two aren't the same word in Arabic. Because you can absolutely have people who are irhabiyun, but they don't necessarily do suicide bombing. Like ISIS, for example, they definitely do terrorism, right? Like the actions that they commit are definitely terrorism, but they don't necessarily actually in Iraq and Syria do suicide bombing as their main means of terror. They might implement other means like torture and stuff like that. Good. Okay, so the next word that I had on the list is tasamuh. Means tolerance, the word tasamuh. And I think that's quite an interesting word in English when we say tolerance. Like here in the UK, I don't know how many of you guys are from the UK who are listening or watching, but here in the UK, we talk about being British and that we're a very tolerant society, as if that's a good thing. But that's not really the Islamic model, to be tolerant of other things. They're really, like, Islam propagates ta'ayush, like a coexisting rather than a tolerance. The term tolerance itself isn't really a positive thing. It means you don't want something there, but you'll tolerate it, right? It's not an acceptance of something. It's a putting up with something being bad. Do you know what I mean? And we do this a lot here in the UK. It's like in sort of the British psyche that we do a lot of tolerating of things. We tolerate being mistreated in shops and in restaurants and stuff like that. And we don't complain about it. We sort of huff and puff about it silently, or we'll do things like, I remember once when I was travelling with a brother, and I think I ordered some soup or something. I wanted some soup on the aeroplane, and I didn't get it for like an hour. And the brother I was travelling with, he's a Bangladeshi, British but Bangladeshi. He was making jokes about like that white people would complain about that by waiting like a few weeks later and then writing a letter to them saying, like, I have one soup outstanding from your organisation. You'd write a letter or something like that rather than actually like vocalising it then. So I would tolerate the not getting my soup at that time, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I've accepted it or whatever. And it's the same with like here in the UK, a lot of people who claim to be tolerant and would boast that Britain is a very tolerant society would be the same people who would harbour very negative thoughts about black people or brown people who live next door, but they'll tolerate them. So tasamuh, although it is good to be tolerant, right? But it's not. If we actually understand what tolerating something is, it's not quite as good as ta'ayush, to literally coexist with another. Because like in Muslim majority societies, you shouldn't it shouldn't be that you tolerate the Christians there. Like, the Christians are part of the society in those countries, right? Like, definitely, I know when I was in Palestine, the Christians are part of the society there. There's no like tolerating of the Christians, or tolerating of their religion. It's their religion has a place in the Sharia and it exists in the Sharia, right? So that's just I don't know. Like, I often talk to people about that who sort of boast about Britain being a very tolerant society, about whether tolerance is really the holy grail of what we should all aspire for. But anyways, so tasamuh is the word. Yeah, tasamuh is tolerance, and a tolerant person is mutasamih, and you can also be غير متسامح if you're intolerant. غير متسامح. Being mutasamih is much better than being غير متسامح, of course. Good, so a little bit about tolerance. The word for a riot is the next one, is a shagab. I did, a lot of you guys know that as part of the 60 Steps program, I've included this new area called the Skill Builder. And the Skill Builder is just a place, for those of you who don't know, I kind of take videos that are in Arabic, like news reports, cartoons, interviews, TV series, movies, whatever, in Arabic, and take like a 1 or 2 minute clip. And I give you a vocab list for understanding it all, or I give you the transcripts and grammar insights, and it's a really good way for students to kind of build their grammar. And they're always based on videos that are like 1 or 2 minutes long. You usually learn about 30 to 50 words in them. And it's a good way just to learn sort of spoken Arabic rather than just like a hard grammar type of learning. But anyway, so in the Skills Builder, I'm planning a Skill Builder video for all of this kind of political terminology. There's loads of, like, if you, like, after this podcast, if you go onto like BBC Arabic or something, you go on YouTube or something and just type in some of these words, you'll get news reports that you'll be able to understand a lot of now, which is really cool. So the word shagab, means a riot. The next word, violence, is unf. Ayn noon fa, unf. Cool. Next word that we had in our list for today is al-Rabi' al-Arabi. Al-Rabi' is the spring. It is actually used for the spring, as in the season. And then al-Arabi just means the Arab, right? So that's the term for the Arab spring. Al-Rabi' al-Arabi. The Arab spring. I think it was called the spring, not necessarily because it came about in the spring, but because it came about so quickly. Like the term Rabi' in Arabic doesn't have the same connotation of something springing, right? But but I don't think it was called the Arab Spring because it came about in the spring. I don't actually remember when it did, to be honest. I remember it was very sort of current when I was at university, but it's a word that you guys should know though. Rabi' al-Arabi. Al-Rabi' al-Arabi. The next word, sort of coming out of Al-Rabi' al-Arabi, obviously in the UK, when people talk about like violence in the Middle East, you can't really have a conversation about that without talking about ISIS. In Arabic, they do say like the Islamic State of Iraq and Sham, Dawlatul Islamiyya, maybe fi Iraq wa Sham, or al-Iraq wa Sham, and just make it an idafa, Dawla Islamiyya al-Iraq wa Sham. I'm not sure how it pieces together, but there's a kind of a more slang term that's used for them, which is just Daesh. They use the term Daesh, and that is like an acronym for Dawlatul Islamiyya, Iraq wa Sham. Daesh, the Dal for Dawla, the Alif for the Islamiyya, and then the Ayn for Iraq, and then the Sheen for Sham, Daesh. And that's the term people use in the Middle East. To talk about ISIS. I think it's a good idea to distance them from being Islami. So it's right that we use a term like Daesh, which doesn't make them sound very legitimate. Cool. So in juxtaposition, in stark contrast to talking about ISIS, the next word that I have is mutafattih. Literally, we know that the verb fatah means to open, but to be mutafattih means to be open-minded. And you can be narrow-minded if you're like غير متفتح. You can use that as well. Just like you can be متسامح. You can be you can be tolerant. You can be غير متسامح. You can also be متفتح, open-minded, and you can also be narrow-minded. غير, just by putting غير at the beginning. Cool. Next word we have تطرف. تطرف. It means extremism. I've heard other words that are used almost synonymously, but like the term to be like mutashaddid is sort of to be severe with people. I often hear that sort of referred to with like when you get like in some countries you get like religious police. Like I know in Saudi Arabia, my wife grew up in Saudi Arabia. In where she grew up in Riyadh, they have, or they used to have at least, the mudawwir. They were called the mudawwir, and they're like a religious police who basically sort of they come over to you if you're dressed wrong and they give you advice, or they I don't know, if they see two people who the mudawwir suspect aren't married or something, like a guy and a girl or whatever, just chilling or whatever in a park, then they might go over and ask them for some proof that they're married or something like that. I don't really know what they do. I've never been. Do you know what I mean? It's just, like my wife just tells me how they used to come into her school and just make sure that the dress code was correct. She never spoke badly of them, but yeah, that's something that goes on. And I've heard of that sort of person be referred to as like mutashaddid, rather than being rather than referred to that as tashaddud rather than tatarruf. But I've heard them both used. Next one, the word oppression is qamr. Qamrun is oppression. So what have we got there? How many words have we got? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 18. So we've got 12 words there. So we've got 12 nouns for us. Then we'll have another sort of maybe 7 or 8 verbs for us to move on to, inshallah, and for us to talk through. So that'll kind of help us to piece things together. Okay, when we move on to these verbs, inshallah, help us to piece things together a little bit. So to change one's mind, there's this verb ghayyara, which is to change something else. You might have also had the verb taghayyara, which means to kind of be changed. But like to change my mind would be like taghayyartu ra'yi. You should just say الرأي is an opinion. So رأي is my opinion. تغيرت رأيي في هذا الموضوع. I changed my mind in this matter. Something like that. غير رأيي. The next verb, that's a form 2 verb, by the way. غير يغير is how you'd conjugate it. And then the changing of something would be تغيير. The next one is the verb to persuade. Is a form 4 verb أقنع. أقنع يقنع أقنع أنا أقنعك I persuade you. سوف أقنعك I will persuade you. I've also heard the term مقنع to mean like I'm convinced, I'm persuaded. Okay, and a مقنع. It's a little bit like saying أنا متأكد. If you're متأكد, it means you're sure, you're certain of something. But مقنع, you've been persuaded of something. It's quite a useful word. Next verb is a verb that I think sounds nice as well. It's اقترح, form 8 verb. اقترح means to suggest. أنا أقترح and blah blah blah. I suggest that. It just means to suggest. اقترح, and a suggestion is an اقتراح. اقتراح جيد. A good suggestion. اقتراح جيد يا سام. Good suggestion يا Sam. Next we have the verb دافع. دافع means to defend. Those of you who are football fans will be psyched as well, because there's the term دفاع as well, which comes from that verb meaning like the defense. دفاع. But it's also used for like the defense forces and stuff. The term دفاع is used in that as well. But دافع يدافع is a form 3 verb, it must be. So أدافع would be like I defend something. أنا أدافع حقوقي or something, like I'm defending my rights. أنا أدافع حقوقي. حقوق, a حق is a right or the truth, and حقوق is the plural meaning rights. So الحقوق الإنسان or الحقوق الإنسانية, it would be human rights, or الحقوق الإنسانية, human rights. Nice. To criticize something. انتقد, the verb انتقد, ينتقد, to criticize. أنا أنتقد ذلك, I criticize that. نعم. It's to say something like I criticize the oppression of women or something. Let's say أنا أنتقد قمع النساء. أنا أنتقد قمع النساء. I criticize the oppression of the women. And next we've got the verb to debate something. ناظر يناظر. فلنناظر. Let's debate. فلنناظر. Let's debate something. There's the verb ناقش, which is quite similar as well. You can say like, لنناقش. Let's debate. Let's discuss. ناقش means to discuss really, and a نقاش is a discussion. نقاش. That word's quite common, to just mean a discussion. Good. And those are kind of all the main things that I had. It's been there. For those of you just listening, by the way, I'm gulping tea. That's why, that's why you may have heard me gulp. You'll hear me gulp again in a minute. Cool, so that's everything that I wanted us to talk about. There's about 20 words there that we just, had the opportunity to run through, make some sentences and stuff like that. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't have any other shout-outs. I mean, I have about 15 of my workbooks in front of me. So if any of you are thinking of signing up to the Arabic in 60 Steps program, do so right now and you'll get your book like tomorrow. Because they're right in front of me, printed, bound, ready to send to you. So especially if you live in the UK, you're getting for free. If you're thinking of signing up to the program, you have to sign up now. Then that's something cool. Something I'm considering adding as well to the Arabic in 60 Steps program is when people join, they just get a free half-an-hour lesson with me, which would be quite nice as well. It'd be nice for me to actually get a chance to have like a one-on-one chat with everyone who signs up as well. So that's something that you're interested in, let me know. Cool. That's it. We'll wrap up, inshallah. If you have any questions, DM me on Instagram. I like receiving DMs on Instagram from you guys, or anything really. I mean, if you're listening on SoundCloud, you can leave me a comment. I believe if you're on YouTube, you guys can definitely leave me a comment. You can like it. You can share it. Enjoy. Don't forget to give me suggestions for further episodes of the podcast or further advice and stuff like that for later episodes. And that was episode 17 of the Arabic with Sam podcast. Those of you who are listening on the podcast, those of you who I'm just in your ear, you're commuting to work, or you're doing the washing up, or you're in the gym or whatever, thank you for lending me your ear. Thank you for being part of it, and I'm enjoying the podcast. Those of you who are on the YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you guys next week for episode 18, inshallah. Enjoy. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.